Hello everyone, it is E, and in today's video I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. If you can read the title of the video, then you already know that today I'm drawing Figment from Disney's Walt Disney World Resort in Epcot. Figment is a character who is more or less a mascot for a ride. Figment is this purple dragon, and he, I guess, is like the embodiment of imagination. And I do not like him at all, really. So the point of this video is I'm going to discuss the things that I don't like about Figment. I guess this is my unpopular Disney opinion. I'm a huge Disney fan, really. I didn't used to think of myself that way, but recently I've been to Disney World a couple times, and I have kind of been converted into one of those crazy Disney people. I never thought I would be, but here I am. I have a whole wall in my house dedicated to my Disney paraphernalia, and I'm trying to limit it to just one wall in one room. I don't want this taking over my house. It's already taken over enough of my life. We've got it to one wall. But yeah, I don't necessarily love everything that Disney does, and Figment and his ride, Figment Journey into the Imagination, whatever, is one of those Disney things that I'm just not that into. So let's talk about his design first off. I think Figment is creepy looking. Here I am drawing him as he originally appears. I guess you would say this is how he kind of looks in all of his official art. I really did try my hardest on this illustration. I didn't want to make it look any uglier than Figment already is, so I really saturated the colors and made it look as pretty as possible. If you're a Figment fan, then I imagine you'll like this drawing. I'm not a Figment fan, so I'm not that into it, but I think I did a good job. Yeah, Figment looks creepy to me. The reason that I don't like his face, super angular and lumpy, like his nose has all these bumps on it. He's got just like a lumpy, weird face. His body is kind of fat, but not like chubby and cute. So I just don't really like the way that Figment looks, and he looks bad from every angle. Like a straight on photo of Figment looks really peculiar as well. And the flat 2D images of Figment look better than the 3D animatronics within the ride, in my opinion. Like the 3D animatronics in the ride are just like the ultimate in creepy, unappealing character design. If you have ever ridden Journey into the Imagination with Figment in its current iteration, you'll know that not only is Figment kind of ugly, but the ride is also not very good. I am not old enough to have ridden the original Figment ride at Epcot. It had this character in it, I think, called the Dream Maker, and everybody always talks about how great the original iteration of the ride was, and they miss the Dream Maker and all this stuff. And they're probably right. It probably is better. I can't imagine the ride being much worse. I think they redid the ride twice, and supposedly this current iteration is better than the previous one, but the ride is a lot shorter than it used to be, and it doesn't have the Dream Maker guy in it. The ride is kind of, I wouldn't say panned, but the ride is not really critically acclaimed, and it's not very popular. You pretty much never have to get a fast pass for this ride. I've used a fast pass for it before just because, and it really didn't cut down on my wait time at all. The line is very rarely long in my experience. I'm sure if you're there in like the dead of spring break or Christmas, then you might have to wait for it. To me, I would not wait more than like a minute and a half for this ride. Like, just to walk through the queue is enough of a burden to me to ride this thing. And honestly, like, it's the kind of thing, because Figment is like a mascot for Epcot, and you know, it is kind of a classic attraction. I do ride it when I go there at least once, but I definitely do not like repeatedly ride this. It's just not that kind of ride for me. Like, there are plenty of rides at Disney that I could ride a million times. Figment is not one of them. Because not only is Figment ugly, not only is the ride really lame compared to previous iterations, Figment himself is also very annoying. He has this personality that's so grating, and like the guy he's playing off of in the ride is like the scientist who's trying to walk everyone through the five senses, and Figment makes a point, and it's very valid, that, you know, the imagination is, I guess, as important as the other five senses, and whatever, you need to let your imagination free, and I agree. But the way that Figment accomplishes his goal of swaying the scientist to his point of view is just to constantly annoy him and interrupt him and like basically redirect the ride to his own way of doing things. He is so annoying. And literally at one point, Figment farts in your face and you get blasted with this stank in your face, like in the ride. You have to smell a fart. Like, Figment makes you smell a fart. I don't understand why people like Figment, really, aside from his ideology about imagination being somewhat valid. I mean, I'm a creative person, so like I feel like in that regard, I have to show a little respect to Figment, but in all other things, Figment is the worst. I do not like him. I don't want to completely bash him, so I'll be a little bit more generous. Figment, at least, has an appealing color palette. I like the purple and the orange thing he has going on, and that's about it. That's all I can really say for Figment. I don't like Figment merchandise because it features him and I think he's ugly. I don't like that he is the mascot for Epcot. I like the idea of Figment. I like the idea of a purple dragon who encourages people to use their imagination. I like that. I also like the idea of a character that originated in a park. In this day and age, Epcot is becoming Ipcot, is what people are calling like IP-cot, IP being intellectual properties, because they're just importing all of these Disney properties and Disney characters into Epcot, and it's kind of losing its original intention, which was not to feature characters and was to be kind of like this edutainment type thing where you're supposed to learn something while you're exploring and having fun. And to have Figment be a character, so a character in the park, but not from an outside Disney property, to me is kind of like what Epcot is all about. Like, Epcot is supposed to be this place that's very much Disney, but it's not Disney merchandise, it's not Disney properties, it's not Disney movies, it's just Disney's desire to see people educated, progressive thinking about, you know, society and technological advancement, and of course tapping into the creative faculties of a person. And I feel like Figment being an original park character does that for me. I really like that. Like, Orange Bird and the Country Bears, we'll just ignore the fact that the Country Bears eventually did become a Disney movie because that was terrible, but, you know, the Tiki Birds, all of those guys from Magic Kingdom who basically originate in the Magic Kingdom, I really like. Of course, like, there's something special about them being Disney Parks characters, but Magic Kingdom has always featured Disney movie characters and Disney movie sets and stuff like that, inspiration from the movies. So those characters being specific to the parks is cool, but it's not as impactful as Figment is. But that's really not the case anymore. Epcot is becoming just like Magic Kingdom, and being totally about intellectual properties. So I like the idea of Figment. I feel like his identity is being muddied as Epcot becomes more and more about intellectual properties, and I think he's ugly, and wish that he would get kind of a redesign to a certain extent. So that's what I'm going to do here. So I'm going to show my interpretation of Figment. He will be a lot cuter. So hang tight and you will get to see that soon. Okay, here is my take on Figment. Here doing a much smaller drawing. I didn't want to do another larger piece because this is just my own little quick thumbnail interpretation of a redesigned Figment. So what I've done to make him a little bit more palatable to me is I've rounded out his face. I didn't want to go complete CalArts style, which if you're into cartoons and stuff, you'll know what that means, this kind of super round heart-shaped face. If you watch a lot of cartoons, you'll note that like Gumball from the Amazing World of Gumball, Steven Universe, Star vs. the Forces of Evil, and Gravity Falls, all of the characters kind of have this sort of bean heart-shaped face where they've got, you know, super chubby cheeks or whatever. So I didn't want to go super CalArts, but that is kind of what, you know, this looks like because of his snout. And that's fine with me because CalArts design, part of the whole purpose of CalArts design is to create characters who look likable. And I'm not a character design expert by any means. It's not my forte in art, but I do know that round shapes are supposed to convey friendliness. That's why Mickey Mouse is 3 circles, and that's why we love him so much. The round shape conveys friendliness. It's not intimidating. So I have made Figment round, so we think of him as being friendlier. I've shrunk him down and made him chubbier, so he's, you know, fat like the original Figment, but he's chubby too. He's thick. He doesn't have that big long neck like the original Figment has, which kind of makes him thin and slender in some areas. I even made his tail thicker. I have also put him in his sweater, so sometimes Figment does wear a sweater randomly in the ride, and that's completely unexplained why sometimes he's wearing a shirt and sometimes he's not. But I put him in the sweater to make him look cozier and cuter. And basically, yeah, I decided to make him cuter, cozier, friendlier, but he's also more generic. That's part of the issue with redesigns and making him more appealing, is that in making him more appealing, he also kind of becomes more generic. And I personally don't like that, so I'm conflicted, I guess, is the message of the video about Figment, who he should be and what he is. Should he be obnoxious and angular and ugly? Maybe. I mean, it does certainly convey a strong identity versus this more generic Figment where, you know, looking at this, you don't really get the sense of his personality like you do in my other drawing. So, I don't know. If you're a Figment lover, I'm sorry if I offended you. But yeah, he's ugly and annoying, but maybe that's for the best. I don't know. With that, I will leave you all to finish watching the work in progress of this drawing, and I'll have a little comparison shot at the end so you can see original design Figment versus this one. Since I don't really like Figment that much, let me know if any of you in the comments down below want my original Figment drawing, the larger watercolor. I'll be happy to give it to you, so just let me know down in the comments below, and I guess if only one of you responds, I'll give it to you, but if there's multiple responses, I'll pick somebody at random, and I will get in contact with you somehow to get this Figment art to you. Thanks so much for watching, and have a great day. Bye-bye.